declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. Inevitably, a long life can pass by many milestones. My own is no exception.
You are watching ABC News live special coverage of the life of Queen Elizabeth II. The new King Charles III and Queen Camilla have arrived at Buckingham Palace, greeting supporters there ahead of giving his first address to the nation in a pre-recorded speech. Earlier, we saw a 96-gun salute to the Queen, one shot for each year of her life. And church bells have been ringing across the nation in her honor. I'm Alexis Christoforous in New York.
And I'm Diane Macedo in London. Ministers of Parliament are meeting today in a special session to pay tribute to the Queen. And tomorrow, senior members will hold a special session, Saturday session, to pledge an oath of allegiance to the King. This is a country now in mourning and will remain a country in mourning until the day of, through the day of, Queen Elizabeth's funeral. The English Premier League just announced all games will be canceled at least through the week. And the royal family will also be observing a period of mourning through 7 days after Queen Elizabeth's funeral. As for when exactly that funeral will be held, the Cabinet Office says they will reveal more details in due course. Amy Robach has the latest.
The world mourning the passing of Britain's longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, as new details emerge about her last moments. Two of her children, Charles and Anne, were with her during her final hours. The 96-year-old Queen passed away peacefully at her beloved Balmoral estate in Scotland Thursday. Charles seen earlier in the day arriving by helicopter. Other royal family members racing to try to get there in time. Flying into Aberdeen Airport in Scotland. Prince William, solemn on the tarmac. Spotted driving his uncles, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, and Edward's wife Sophie to Balmoral. Harry arriving alone after the news his grandmother had passed. He and Meghan were already in the UK. A notice of Her Majesty's passing hung on the gates of Buckingham Palace.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Anchors on British television somber as they delivered the news.
The Queen passed away earlier today with the family by her side.
Pilots alerting passengers mid-flight. The news of the Queen's passing coming after a rare announcement from the palace just hours before, noting the Queen's doctors were concerned for Her Majesty's health. Now her eldest son, Charles, now King, saying in a statement, "We mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much-loved mother. I know her loss will be deeply felt throughout the country, the realms, and the Commonwealth, and by countless people around the world. My family and I will be comforted and sustained by our knowledge of the respect and deep affection in which the Queen was so widely held." The Queen performing her duties until the very end. Her last photographs taken just 3 days ago as she swore in the new British Prime Minister, Liz Truss, at her Scotland castle.
Queen Elizabeth II was the rock on which modern Britain was built. Our country has grown and flourished under her reign.
Mourners gathering outside Buckingham Palace. Honoring their Queen. Some perspective here. Queen Elizabeth II's reign was so long, 70 years, that 4 out of 5 people here in Great Britain have known no other monarch other than Queen Elizabeth. This, of course, is a very significant, it's a historic, and it's a somber event throughout this nation. Diane?
Our thanks to Amy Robach for that report. Alexis?
All right, thanks so much, Diane. And for more on this, want to bring in Royals writer and reporter at People magazine, Stephanie Petit, and Clive Irving, author of The Last Queen, Elizabeth II's 70-year battle to save the House of Windsor, the Platinum Jubilee edition. Thanks to you both for being here. Stephanie, I'm going to begin with you. People all over the world have been mourning the passing of the Queen, even celebrities taking to social media to post tributes. And Mick Jagger tweeted, "For my whole life, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has always always been there. In my childhood, I can recall watching her wedding highlights on TV. I remember her as a beautiful young lady to the much beloved grandmother of the nation. My deepest sympathies are with the royal family. What do you make of the impact this queen has had on so many lives?
Yes, the Queen, I mean, she's been monarch for 70 years. She's been on the TV screens every Christmas for people in the UK. She's a figure that they're used to seeing on their TVs, hearing on the radios. So for her to be gone, for them to be calling Charles the King, that's very odd to them. And it's going to take some time to adjust.
I think for all of us to adjust, for sure. And Clive, King Charles, we know now at Buckingham Palace, we saw him a short time ago arrive in London along with Queen Consort Camilla, greeting the people. You know, he has, we keep saying, very large shoes to fill here. His mother had a wildly popular approval rating, 86%. Can he even hope to have an approval rating like that? And what might a King Charles monarch look like?
It's such a vast change because of the length of the Queen's reign, and because it happens so quickly that there's no general gradual transition. So for the country to get used to it is one thing, but for Charles himself to get used to it is another. It's a huge challenge because there's never been such a change of generations. The whole country has changed so radically since she came to power. And Charles has said beforehand that he won't be the same person as king as he was as the Prince of Wales, because he was very famous for expressing his views openly about many subjects, whereas the Queen never expressed any opinion on anything, which was part of her magic. And can Charles now change his personality to become that person and acquire the magic that the monarch is supposed to acquire, which gives them that sense that they are the monarch of the whole country and not any sector of it, which was a great success. You know, seeing what Mick Jagger said is very interesting, because the Queen spanned not just the age group, but the cultures too. She loved the Rolling Stones. She loved that kind of music. So it's very hard to replicate that kind of personality.
Right, and I would think it would be a mistake to try to replicate it. Stephanie and Clive, our thanks to you. Now, tributes to the Queen are pouring in from around the globe. President Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden visited the British Embassy yesterday after the Queen's death was announced. They signed the guest book and paid their respects.
Good morning for all of you. She was a great lady. We're so delighted we got to meet her.
ABC News political reporter Brittany Shepard joining me now live for more. So, Brittany, the White House not commenting yet on whether President Biden will attend the funeral for Queen Elizabeth, saying they're going to get ahead of an official invitation. How are world leaders reacting to the news of the Queen's death?
From many of these world leaders, Alexis, we're hearing overwhelming support for a person, for an entity that was an unwavering rock in their life. And for some of these world leaders, the only British monarch they have ever known. It's a consistency that is so sorely needed in a time of absolute political discord. I mean, just look at what Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said. He said that with the heaviest of hearts, we learned of the passing of Canada's longest reigning sovereign, Queen Elizabeth, who was a constant presence. That constant presence, something we heard from prime ministers and presidents and world leaders all across the globe, even from folks like Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, who wouldn't usually opine on such an individual. Even Putin saying that Queen Elizabeth rightfully enjoyed the love and respect of her subjects as well as authority on a world stage, something we know that he cares very deeply about. And what has been so stunning to me is the amount of congruity between the American presidents, the last 5 American presidents, men who, if you went to brunch, they probably wouldn't agree on much of anything at all. Just completely lauding Queen Elizabeth II. Joe Biden praising her unwavering commitment to duty. Donald Trump praising her unwavering devotion. You hear that word again, unwavering, unwavering. That amount of consistency over time is something that I think the American public, American voters probably haven't seen in much of their lifetimes, certainly not mine.
The constant, steady hand. We know the monarch does not make political decisions, but they do hold a certain amount of power or sway, if you will. What can we expect from the new King Charles, and how will the Biden administration handle that change?
Well, it's important, I think, like to button back here and think about how many first Queen Elizabeth did with the American presidency and American politics. She was the first British monarch to speak in front of Congress. That's not nothing. But as we heard earlier, she was very private about most of her opinions about anything, but especially about politics, and was instrumental on essentially not modernizing the monarchy in that way and keeping something steadfast to tradition. That's something that Prince and now King Charles didn't have the luxury of having. You know, when Queen Elizabeth was first queen, there were telegrams. Now there are tweets. And we know just exactly how Prince Charles feels and now King Charles feels. And he made it a point, especially about large political button issues like climate change, to be out there on the front lines. He's spoken publicly with Al Gore about the importance of acting now on climate change, urging other world leaders in capacity of Prince to look to nature to try to get real workable solutions for a threat he believes is existential. That's the kind of message that the White House would welcome as President Joe Biden is efforting to make transformative change when it comes to the climate and American innovation. Voters here worried that Biden is essentially writing checks he can't sign and make promises. So if Prince Charles pivots to modernizing, I think it would be a huge, huge step in a direction the White House would welcome.
All right, Brittany Shepard, thank you for that perspective. And coming up, the Queen, in her own words, we take a look at the life and work of the longest reigning monarch in the UK.
It's quite sunk in yet. I am shocked. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm just gutted, absolutely gutted for the whole country. She just stood there for 70 years. She did a fantastic job. Everybody loved her, and now it's going to be different, very different. She's the only person I've known in my lifetime.
Different indeed. Welcome back, everyone. We are remembering Queen Elizabeth. In her own words, the monarch gave her first ever speech at just 14 years old, sending a message of sympathy and support to children during World War II, and that public legacy lasted throughout her reign.
Inevitably, a long life can pass by many milestones. My own is no exception.
Elizabeth II ruled for longer than any other monarch in British history. And from a 21-year-old princess,
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service.
To young queen.
It has always been easy to hate and destroy. To build and to cherish is much more difficult.
To royal institution, her thoughts on love, service, and family have been heard all over the world.
It's understandable that we sometimes think the world's problems are so big that we can do little to help. On our own, we cannot end wars or wipe out injustice. But the cumulative impact of thousands of small acts of goodness can be bigger than we imagine.
From rallying her nation.
It's worth remembering that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change.
I have observed that some attributes of leadership are universal and are often about finding ways of encouraging people to combine their efforts, their talents, their insights, their enthusiasm and their inspiration to work together.
To calling for unity during a global pandemic.
We will succeed, and that success will belong to every one of us. We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again.
And our thanks to Robin Roberts for that. The newly tapped Prime Minister Liz Truss is meeting with the new King Charles III at Buckingham Palace right now. This is a live picture of Buckingham Palace. As you can see, many people milling about, leaving flowers and notes for the Queen. Earlier, we also saw King Charles greet many of those people as he came from Heathrow Airport when he was coming from the Balmoral Castle back to London. He's going to be addressing the nation later this evening. 1 p.m. Eastern, our time, and of course we'll be bringing that to you live. Want to bring in former press secretary now to Queen Elizabeth II and ABC News Royals contributor Elsa Anderson for more. So Elsa, you've been the director of communications to the Archbishop of Canterbury at Lambeth Palace since late 2013. So your experience with the inner workings of the Crown is well established. Give us a feel for what's going on right now behind closed doors.
Well, the plans for the Queen's or any monarch's funeral are pretty well established. Obviously, they'll have to have the I's dotted and the T's crossed now, but most of the plans are pretty concrete. So the key advisors will be meeting together, those who worked for Her Majesty the Queen and those who now work for King Charles will be meeting very, very regularly just to make sure that all the plans are absolutely up to date, scratch, and everybody knows what they're doing. It'll be an incredibly slick piece of organisation and many very, very professional people working around it.
Yeah, we'd expect nothing less than slick. As we just saw in Robin Roberts' piece, the monarch gave her first ever speech at just 14 years old, sending a message of sympathy and support to the children during World War II. How important was she and her message during that critical moment in history?
I think because she was so young, I think people of her age actually could relate to her more than maybe the King and Queen at that time. So I think it was really, really important that she showed solidarity with the children of Britain during an absolutely traumatic and scary time in their lives. So I would have thought what she said and the way she said it and how she reached out to people was incredibly important.
And on a personal level, Elsa, what is your fondest memory when you think back on the Queen and her incredible reign?
Oh, my golly. Too many to answer, really, from her incredible instinct to say the right thing. And I remember being terribly moved when the Queen wrote a message to the American people after 9/11. And she used this extraordinary phrase, "Grief is the price we pay for love." And I just think, absolutely typical of Her Majesty. She can just nail it. She knows exactly how to express something in the right way. So many times she has inspired me. She's just incredible. From the Irish state visit, which I was very, very lucky to be part of, to visiting Northern Ireland, to the state visit to America, which again I went on, and the inward state visits as well from American presidents. Too many memories. I'm just the most fortunate person, I think, to have those.
And thanks for sharing some of them with us. Elsa Anderson, we appreciate it. ABC News Live continuing coverage of celebrating Queen Elizabeth II's life and legacy, as well as the day's other top stories. There are some. We're going to continue after a short break. Back in a moment.
She's just a wonderful person. My parents had tremendous respect for her, and she pledged her life to this country, and she led this country with great reverence and duty and respect and honor, and I just don't know if there'll be another like her.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. We are following the latest on the UK mourning the death of Queen Elizabeth II, as well as the day's other top stories, including a shooting near the scene of the May school massacre in Uvalde, Texas. The shots rang out last night about 1 mile from Robb Elementary School. 2 people were wounded and 4 suspects, including a minor, were taken into custody. Police believe it was gang-related. The Justice Department is planning to appeal a judge's ruling concerning classified documents seized at former President President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Prosecutors say the decision to appoint a so-called special master to review the documents and to bar the Justice Department from accessing the material would cause irreparable harm and delay its criminal investigation. Trump's lawyers have until Monday to respond to the motion. And the NFL season got underway last night with the Rams unveiling their Super Bowl championship banner, but then quarterback Josh Allen and the rest of the Buffalo Bills went to work. Allen threw 3 touchdowns and ran for another. They won easily, 31-10. The Queen has been an iconic image of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth, appearing in pop culture throughout her 70-year reign. She has reigned over the radio, television, even Twitter, with portrayals of Her Majesty appearing in countless movies, TV shows, and more. Deborah Roberts has the story.
While the world mourns a monumental loss of Queen Elizabeth II, her iconic pop culture image lives on. With an influence spanning decades, generations of people have come to know her. Before social media, before the internet, before TV, the Queen's had one of the most visible faces in history, displayed in photos, magazines, currency, and now both the big...
Arise, Sir Austin Powers.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
And small screen.
We do things in this country quietly, with dignity.
The many portrayals of Queen Elizabeth in media often attempting to pull back the curtain on very real and personal moments in her life, like the death of Princess Diana.
These are for you.
For me.
Dame Helen Mirren.
For better or worse, the crown has landed on my head.
Claire Foy.
I am protecting democracy.
And Olivia Colman, all taking on the role of a lifetime, playing Her Majesty. Her royal style both timeless and elegant, with vibrant color choices and complementary patterns, those classic hats and handbags becoming a staple. She's been referenced in music, art, even cartoons.
What's going on?
Younger generations seeing her caricature in Minions and the Disney classic Hannah Montana.
The Queen, ladies and gentlemen.
She even played along with Craig, Daniel Craig, for the opening ceremony of the 2012 London Olympics.
Good evening, Swan.
Good evening. At her Platinum Jubilee, even Paddington Bear recognizing the Queen's greatness.
Happy Jubilee, ma'am. And thank you for everything.
That's very kind.
I always loved her tea with Paddington Bear. All right, let's go back to Diane Macedo now in London. Diane, the Queen truly was an iconic figure. So much for the sun I was talking about earlier. I see it's raining there now. But what is the latest from London?
I think you jinxed us a little bit, Alexis, but you know, it's not proper London weather without a little bit of rain, so I'm going to try not to blow off the roof while I give you this report. But you can't see it too well now given the weather, but about a 20-minute walk down that way is Buckingham Palace, and that's where the Prime Minister and King Charles are meeting right now. The royal standard has been risen above Buckingham Palace for King Charles for the first time, and that is the banner, the flag that symbolizes that the sovereign is there inside the palace. King Charles arrived there just a short time ago, maybe about a half an hour to an hour ago now, where he greeted his people, you know, for the first time, greeted some of the public here in London as king, received flowers for himself, and also observed some of the tributes that people have brought there for the late Queen Elizabeth. People have been assembling outside Buckingham Palace since before she even passed. Those crowds are expected to grow as the week continues. As for funeral plans for the Queen, the Cabinet Office says they will announce the details in due time. But we do know that the Queen will lie in state, where hundreds of thousands of people are expected to come here to London to pay their respects, Alexis.
Yeah, certainly won't put a damper on things. We still see folks out there outside Buckingham Palace. Diane, thank you. And I'm Alexis Christoforous in New York. Stay with ABC News Live as we offer news, context, and analysis on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II as we and the world remember.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.